My name is Loda Zoth, and I'm the Volunteer Executive Director of Camp Able of Buffalo Gap. I'm here with my husband, Carrie Cawthron, who's behind the camera. Carrie, wave. There we go. And Carrie actually works as our volunteer facilities and ranch manager here at Camp Able. As the year 2021 closes, we thought we would give you a little tour of Camp Able's facilities and an update on progress, projects, facilities, programs, and of course the horses. Camp Able has two facilities we operate in right now. Our original location here, which is Trails End Ranch, and this location, which is the home of our founder, Renee Hicks, is leased to Camp Able and is comprised of about 30 acres on the western side of the Gap in the mesas south of Abilene, and it's that gap that forms the town of Buffalo Gap. Most of the 30 acres is hilly and rocky, but we do have a small 3-acre pasture that we have here, and we have 6 small covered stalls we'll show you in a few minutes, and a few uncovered pens. Right now we have about 25 horses located here. So this is a nice open area here, and let me introduce you to Wanda, Sweet Wanda the Gypsy Mule right here, who is currently in our pavilion area. This is an area that we use for our therapeutic riding classes. It is nice and open, and we can put barrels and poles and other types of obstacles so that children can work on their endurance, their steering of the horse, their confidence, and all sorts of stuff. This is a traditional size loafing shed. Not sure where the term loafing came from, but we think it's because the horses like to loaf here on hot, sunny days. It is a protective structure that you'll usually find in horse pastures to allow both shade in the extreme summertime, but also protection from severe winter weather like we had back in February of 2021. The way we do our loafing sheds is with 2 walls, not with 3, because we don't want a horse to get cornered in one of the corners. So we always want to leave a way out. So we put a north wall and a west wall. This is about 200 square feet of covered space here, and the horses love them. We're going to show you a couple of more loafing sheds also in a few minutes. So here we have some of our original stalls, and these are some relatively small 8x10 stalls that were built here several years ago. And we have some of our horses. Willow, this is Sweet Milky Way, and that's Indy there. And we use this for a variety of reasons. Some, if we have some dietary restrictions, certainly if we have injury, and also if we have to quarantine someone, which we usually do when we get a new horse, we quarantine until we're sure that they haven't brought anything along with them. So 6 stalls here, but we have between 20 and 25 horses here, not very much cover. So we're going to try to focus on, in this upcoming months, on increasing the number of covered, protective coverings that we have for our horses here. So this is a little bit of a new addition to Trails End. It is a round pen that we use for training. And as you can see, there's a barrel in the center, which is used for some of the training mechanisms. And there is what looks like a training whip. This is never used to hit the horses, but it's used behind the horses to get them to run at a particular pace. Not necessarily run, but trot or walk at a particular pace. Here, about halfway up the side of the mesa, we have this large loafing shed. We call this our supersized loafing shed. And it's 20 feet by 60 feet. And it has about 1,200 square feet of covered space. Now you can see we put the hay right here, so these horses can enjoy their morning light. They can be protected from the north wind. They could also be protected if we had anything coming from the sky. These types of protective structures are so important because we don't have a lot of natural protection here at this property, nor at the farm. So these loafing sheds, whether we build the traditional size loafing shed or the super size loafing shed, are very important for our horses. And the horses that we have here, Shenanigans, Chisholm, and Remington, are all enjoying a lunch. Carrie has climbed up a bit to be able to show you the view from the top of the trails. On the far left-hand side is the blue trail, down the center is the white trail, and on the right-hand side is the red trail. These trails are used every day during our therapeutic riding sessions. This is what we call our male chute, and as a child is riding up on a horse, it doesn't have to be a child, it could be an adult as well, but it's primarily children. They would open this up, choose a color of tennis ball, light pink. They would then go over here and either in the red or the blue, drop it in the box. Then they would continue on around the trail, go beneath on the trail below, and if they put it in the red box, they'll open the red mailbox. If they put it in the blue one, they'll open the blue mailbox, and they'll see their tennis ball, pick their tennis ball up, continue on the trail, come back around, and then they'll replace it back in the mailbox here. Something just a little fun, where they can also work on their core balance and their executive functioning skills. In the spring and the fall, we have other things on our sensory trail, like boxes that will hold flowers, planter boxes that will hold herbs. The favorite, I think, is chocolate mint. And there's a cowhide down there that you can feel, some wind chimes, other things just to heighten the senses as they go through their riding experience. One of the projects that we undertook this year, this panel fence that you see here, it's a static panel fence. When it's in a high use area, like when we're in an area where horses are often, sometimes the welds holding each one of these ends would pop loose, and it became very dangerous for both humans and horses. So one of the big projects that we did this year was convert those panels into these cables, adequate to keep horses in, much less hardware that can come loose or get in the way or stab, if you will, a human or a horse. And so this was much safer. So we did this all in this paddock here, which is one of our highest used areas. One of the wonderful things that we have here at Trails End Ranch are two containers that we use to house our tack for our therapeutic riding. These containers have been here about 5 years now, and they were starting to look a little worn because the paint was starting to peel on the outside. So our wonderful friends at First Financial Bank, Antley Branch, came out and painted the entire exterior of these tack containers, and we are so grateful to them. And now we have some freshly painted tack containers that will continue to last for a long time. We're here at the farm, which we call the farm, at Camp Able. It's an 83-acre tract that we purchased in 2019. And I'm standing in front of the farmhouse that was originally built in the 60s. It has been completely refurbished. During the first year of the pandemic, when we weren't able to have therapeutic riding, we focused really a lot of time on refurbishing the house and the surrounding area here, which we're going to show you in just a few minutes. As you can see, we have our Camp Able sign up here on the fence, and our caretaker, who's also one of our path instructors, lives here and is able to watch out over the herd that we have here. Behind me, you'll see a round enclosure, another training pen that we have. We have two of these here at the farm that can serve both as training areas, but also as an extra pen if we need to put someone in it for quarantine or just to separate them from the herd temporarily. This area here is an area we've worked really hard on over the past couple of years, particularly last year. First, you can see a silo, a grain silo, and that is original equipment back in the 60s when this area was first developed by the family that lived here. There are actually 3 of those containers, but we actually have removed 2 of them because they were damaged. In the place of the 2, we have put a 30 by 40 storage building where we store feed and we store tack. Next to that is two structures that were, again, original equipment here, a covered shed and an old hay barn, both of which we've improved structurally and tried to convert into usable areas for our horses. Let's take a look into our new storage area here. One can never have enough storage area for machinery, for feed, for tack, for tools. Ultimately, we expect that this will be just a machinery and maintenance area. But right now, it's nice for us to be able to store quite a lot of feed in here. We have 4 tons of feed in here right now, and a ton of actually oat seed that we are saving for a future planting time. This old covered shed has been really invaluable for us. We've been able to repair it and put some pens in it so that we can use it for sick or injured horses. We also have some equipment and some hay stored in the one stall that has a concrete floor in it. And it backs up to what was used by the farmer that lived here before, the farm family that lived here before, as a hay shed. And so it would be a covering during the rainy season for the hay that they would store for the winter. Now, this is an area that we decided would be a reasonable makeshift loafing shed. It at least had the covering for the hot summer days. But what we knew was that it would not be necessarily adequate for a north wind extreme cold event like we had back in February of 2021. Over here you can actually see we put a makeshift barrier, a north wind barrier here, and it is both a buffet for Legos. As you can see, he's got his head into the hay, but it also serves as a windbreak. So this area here, we would hope to return to being a hay shed once we have our therapeutic riding center built, where we have more protection from our winter events. But right now, we're still going to use it as a makeshift loafing shed. One of the projects that we've been raising money for to do immediately is to provide more protective covering for our horses. In this area right here, we're planning to put about 20 by 60 feet of concrete pad, appropriately set for drainage, covered with a metal roof that could ultimately be used as a shed for equipment. But right now, we're going to place 5 heavy-duty temporary stalls that have walls in them. So again, we have more pens for injured, sick horses or horses that just simply need to be separated from the herd. It will have the north wall, it'll have walls around all sides, and it would be very protective during periods of extreme weather. So these pens here largely were original. The farmer that was here used to run cattle, so they were primarily cattle. There was a few little goat pens here. We've refurbished them so that they are more appropriate for horses. But the one thing we don't have here is a roof covering. So we're planning to put a protective roof over at least half of these pens to give us, again, more protection for horses that are injured or sick. Our little friend Driver here has got a really weepy eye, so we've separated him from the herd just in case he's got something that might be contagious for the rest of the herd. And so he's over here in the pen while we try to treat his eye and get him back to health. So Pam and I are here to show you our 55-acre oat field. We're going to start in this corner where you'll see there's not a lot of vegetation. This is where we're going to put a supersized loafing shed, 2 long walls, a west wall and a north wall that are both 60 feet long. And it will be 20 feet wide on both sides. So it'll be an L-shaped supersized loafing shed. Perfect, we think, for this entire field to be used. And right now, we have a beautiful crop of volunteer oats that have come up. We planted this field in oats last year and got the benefit of having volunteer oats come up this year. We have been watering them. You might see a little bit of glistening from the pivot irrigation sprinkler that you can now see. That was donated to us 2 years ago by a company out in Midland who bought a property that had it on it and they didn't need it, and so they decided to donate it to us, and we're so appreciative of that. So with the help of Jim Leonard at Leonard Water Services, we got the pivot up and running and we're able to water this field. Ultimately, this field will be planted next spring in Bermuda grass, and that will give us the opportunity to both have grazing and produce hay, which is so necessary for our herd. One of the things that we always have to be mindful of is water. Water is plentiful on this piece of land underground, and we are so grateful for that. But as we learned in February of 2021, if you don't have electricity to power the well to bring the water up, you can be in a lot of trouble. So we decided that we would take advantage of recycling water that is going to be running off of our neighbors, the Highland Farms neighborhood next to us. This area just to my right is a retention area. There's a retention area a little bit further behind, but the water comes through and runs down this ditch. And now we have formed an area over here, a stock tank, as it is normally called. And this is our North Stock tank. And our hope here is that this will capture water that will be available to us even if we don't have power for whatever reason to run our wells. We also would like to stock it with some fish and maybe create a little bit of a fishing hole for our families and our children to have another activity to participate in. As Carrie pans off over to the south, you'll see, you can really see prominently the 2 culverts that are there, but you can see that there is another tank on the south side of this pasture we did for the exact same reason. We're trying to make it to where there's always natural water available for our horses on the just-in-case basis we don't have power for our wells. One of my favorite things to talk about. I'm standing at the southeast corner of what we expect to be our therapeutic riding complex. To the north and to the west, this is where we plan to build what will be a covered riding arena, 16 to 18 stalls for horses, tack storage, tack room, tack area, mounting area, along with multi-purpose rooms, conference rooms, diagnostic rooms, offices, areas that can be fully enjoyed by all of our participants, our volunteers, our staff. Approximately 1 acre of roof will be behind me. 1 acre will be covered, and that's just right at 43,000 square feet. We're so excited to be able to continue the development of this property here, and hopefully really soon, with all the generous people that live in the big country for sure, we will make this come to reality. Hi Dottie, how's my girl? How's my girl? For those of you who've been following on our Facebook page are following any of our story, you've heard the story of Dottie. Back in October, Dottie had a terrible case of twisted colon. It required surgery, very expensive surgery, and rehabilitation. But look at her, she looks great. She's got her winter coat on, she's gained a lot of weight. Her hair's growing back on her tummy. And we are hoping that Dottie can be back in our therapeutic riding ranks, hopefully sometime within the next year. We definitely want her to heal all the way up before we give her a ride. Now, you can see she's actually looking at all of her friends across the fence. We still are keeping her separated from the herd because we don't want an errant little kick or bump to create any issues for Dottie. So she's over here on this side of the fence with her friend Galileo, and we are keeping an eye out on her. She's doing good. We are so grateful to all of our donors, to our participants and their families, to our staff, to our volunteers. Without you guys, none of this would be possible, for sure. And volunteerism can occur in so many different ways. One of our young friends painted Tony the Little Red Pony on this propane tank. And doesn't it take a propane tank from being just a propane tank into being something really special? We are so we're so grateful to all of you, and we hope that you will keep supporting Camp Able. Be patient with us as we go through this transition process that we're entering into, where we're going from being kind of a small little outfit out in Buffalo Gap to actually creating what we hope is a world-class therapeutic riding center that can serve the big country in a very special way. Stay tuned for more updates coming soon. Take care.